In this video we will see an F-type linear encoder being mounted on a long bed lathe which has a longitudinal axis of 15 meters. The F linear encoder can be mounted directly on the machine if the mounting surface has a parallel deviation of less than 0.1 millimeters. If the parallel deviation is greater than 0.1 millimeters, it is necessary to use the RF1 mounting bracket or similar. On the screen we can see that the mounting surface is provided by a custom-made mounting bracket. Once attached to the machine, it is necessary to check the parallelism of the surface. This is done using two dial gauges as shown, one positioned above the other. They are moved along the entire length of the mounting bracket and the parallelism is adjusted as necessary. Once the surface is within the specified tolerances, the first module can be mounted. The first stage in installing the module is to mark out the mounting holes. Here, two equally sized cylindrical spacers are being used to ensure that the module is parallel to the carriage. Once held in position, the center hole is marked using a punch. Once the position of the mounting hole has been marked, the module is removed and a hole is drilled to a diameter of 4.3 millimeters. It is important when drilling to maintain the drill bit perpendicular to the mounting surface. Once the hole has been drilled, it is then countersunk and tapped to M5. The module is then fixed to the machine using the single mounting hole. The position of the mounting hole is then checked using the cylindrical spacers as shown. The M5 bolt is then tightened. The carriage is then moved to the other extreme of the module and the mounting hole is marked. The mounting hole can be marked using a punch as shown or alternatively using the drill. The carriage is then moved to the other extreme of the module and the corresponding mounting hole is marked. The module is then removed and the two marked holes are drilled, countersunk and tapped. The module is then fixed to the mounting surface using the three mounting holes. A dial gauge is then used to check the parallelism of the linear encoder module with respect to the carriage. The dial gauge is moved along the length of the module and the parallelism is checked. Adjustments are made when necessary. Here we can see the remaining mounting holes being marked using the drill. The module is once again removed and all the corresponding holes are drilled, countersunk and tapped. Once all the mounting holes have been drilled and tapped, the module is fitted permanently to the machine. But before doing so, it is necessary to remove the protective masking tape. When initially fixing the module to the machine, the bolts should only be gently tightened to allow for adjustment later on. Once the module is fitted to the machine, it is necessary to check that it is parallel to the carriage. This is done using a dial gauge. The dial gauge is moved along the surface of the module and necessary adjustments are made. The parallelism must not vary more than 0.3 mm along the entire length of the module. We will now see how to mount the center modules. Firstly, the mounting holes must be marked. The module is positioned alongside the fixed module, maintaining a separation of 4 mm between the two. The first hole is then marked, drilled, countersunk and tapped. The module is then fixed to the machine, taking care to ensure that there is a 4 mm separation between the two modules. The mounting holes at the other extreme of the module are then marked, using the dial gauge to ensure their correct position. Once all the holes have been marked, the module is removed and all corresponding holes are drilled, countersunk and tapped. The module is then fitted to the machine and a dial gauge is used to ensure that it is within tolerance. It is adjusted accordingly. Further modules are fitted following the same procedure. The modular models of the F-type linear encoder have two fixed reference points, one at each extreme of the linear encoder. The reference points are provided by two 6 mm diameter dowel pins. In order to ensure a correct fit, the holes must be drilled and then reamed before the pins are fitted. The next stage in the mounting procedure is to insert the rubber lips into the linear encoder. The end cap is removed and the sealing lips are inserted using the red insertion tool provided with the linear encoder modules. To make insertion easier, a lubricant can be applied to the sealing lips before insertion. Once the sealing lips have been pulled through the entire assembly, they should be cut, allowing a 15 mm excess at both extremes. Finally, run the Allen key or another firm object along the entire length of the lips to ensure that they are protruding. Now insert the steel tape. While inserting the steel tape into the extrusion, remove the protective plastic film, taking care not to touch the reflective surface of the tape with your fingers. Once the steel tape has been fully inserted into the extrusion, it is connected to the tensioning assembly using the metal clip supplied with the linear encoder. Once connected, the steel tape and the tensioning assembly are fitted into the extreme of the module. The steel tape is then connected at the other extreme of the linear encoder using the metal clip provided. The next step is to fit the reader head. The reader head is housed in a separate aluminium extrusion. The reader head extrusion is aligned with the linear encoder using the 4 positioning screws. Once aligned, the reader head is disconnected from its extrusion and is slid into the linear encoder. The reader head extrusion is then removed and the end cap is replaced. Now we will see how the reader head is connected to the carriage of the lathe. The reader head should be connected to the carriage using a sturdy bracket. Engineering drawings of a universal bracket kit are available from Fagor Automation. We can see measurements being taken so that the correct bracket components can be selected. It is important to ensure that the separation between the reader head and the aluminium extrusion is 2.5 mm plus and minus 1.5 mm. This distance can be set using feeler gauges or other suitable spacers. All bracket components should be well tightened to ensure that no play exists in the bracket assembly. Now tension the steel tape. Move the reader head 25 mm from the left end and preset the DRO to 0. Then move the reader head to the other end and remember the value. Insert the values into the formula given in the manual. Preset the DRO to 0 and tension the steel tape until the value calculated from the formula appears on the digital readout. If necessary, apply a protective covering. The installation is now complete.